A very good afternoon, Bangladesh. Welcoming all our viewers from around the country and also around the globe. This is International Affairs being broadcasted from the Dhaka's Gulshan studio. My name is Shamsul Alam Pranto. As I bring in the most important updates regarding Middle East, regarding the world, the breaking news and how humankind and mankind should prepare for what is coming. Before I begin the discussion today, I want to introduce my panel in the studio. I have Major Dr. Khosru Samad. I welcome you onto this program. He is, of course, a military and geopolitical analyst and columnist. I welcome you onto this program. It's very good to see you, Doctor. Alongside, we will have on Zoom Norman Floyd Burns, who is our geopolitical correspondent from Washington District of Columbia. I want to begin with Norman. There is some news that is coming out which says that a deal ending the Iran war is seeming to be close. However, Donald Trump, every time he takes to Truth Social, that is when all the sides are now understanding where the direction or the narrative is going. I want to ask you, sir, what are the latest updates? I also know for a fact that J.D. Vance may be landing in Islamabad as of tomorrow. What are the updates? How do you analyze this situation as daily life across, not only here in Bangladesh, but across the world, is now being hampered as a cause of this war? Norman, what are the updates?
Greetings from Washington, D.C. Yes, we are expecting Vice President Vance to arrive in Islamabad on Wednesday for a second round of negotiations. In the meantime, President Trump is basically sending mixed messages out to the public about he's not in any hurry about ending this conflict, but he's also talking about having a solution for a ceasefire through Vance and his contemporaries. So right now, everybody is anticipating Wednesday is the deadline, which we do not believe the president is going to extend on the ceasefire before he start taking military action. While we are talking, the military part is staging, preparing, and ready to launch on the green light from the president. So we have a lot of mixed messages going on. We're talking, we're preparing, we're not talking, and Iran is basically stating that they will not come to the table if there's a situation where they don't feel they is going to be listened to and threatened. If they are threatening and they are stating that they now have a new additional piece to add to this situation, which I anticipate will probably do something with the Red Sea. So this story is going on and is affecting how we live day to day globally. Trade, people are losing jobs, gas and water, energy is a big issue. Companies that have rely on energy to use the production, people are losing their jobs. They're not able to perform work. And of course, with the impending war attack by the U.S., the markets are staging to increase their costs in doing business, and the price of everything is rising. So that's what we have right now, waiting on this situation with the talks. And at the same time, we have continuation of talks between Israel and Hezbollah. I believe Wednesday they will continue talks here in Washington, D.C., talking about ceasefire terms. But the scenario on both of these situations is still the same. The terms are the same, and both parties are hell-bent on holding their ground. Thank you.
Right, very significant updates coming from Norman Floyd Burns. Let me just add on that Israel's Defense Minister Israel Katz has threatened to kill Hezbollah chief Qasem, saying he will pay with the loss of his head. These are the comments made by someone who represents Israel, as well as he said Israeli forces would continue to act with strength in Lebanon even during the ceasefire. On the other hand, Donald Trump is claiming that this new deal that is set to happen in Islamabad will out-Trump the 2015 Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, which Donald Trump says that it's a direct roadway to Iran attaining a nuclear weapon. In the studio with Dr. Khosrow Samad, you are hearing Norman Floyd Burns talking about the updates. Another round of talks is scheduled for this week. How far it will be comprehensive? Will it overshadow or be better than the deals of the past? And 52 or 3 days have been gone in this war that we see in the Middle East. It has affected lives, it has claimed lives, it is affecting lives here in Bangladesh as well. I want to know what are some of the implications that we have to face.
Thank you very much. If we can remember here, more or less 1 month back, that is a follow-up of the Iranian conditions. The couple of the days before the sitting, the killing of the Ayatollah happened. And it was told that it is an endless process. That means maybe USA will win over the race. But we forecasted that third party may be involved. Third party is a colloquial language. The person or the country or the institution who may be acceptable for the both of the persons, he may build a cat and it may be possible. And we categorically name the Asim Munir. We are not the astrologer. Why we did so? Because on the Pakistan's part, Pakistan military regime is the frequently it was there, and Pakistani politics is incorporated with the military matters directly. And personally, it's yet to know that Trump, like the Asim Munir, and he told, yes, Field Marshal, how are you? So, and the vis-a-vis on the other parts, Iran is a Muslim country. There is an old friendship between the both of the countries. So, that thing happened. Ultimately, Pakistan was volunteer, and ultimately it was possible to bring the American delegates, including the Vice President and the son-in-law of the Donald Trump himself. He's a bearer, flag bearer. Son-in-law is what I say. In Bangla, it's called the Shala, Jamai. It's a relatives. And this colloquial language is available throughout the world. In-law. So, however, since they are representing of the United States of the America, we have to be, terminology must be diplomatic. I want to say the gravity from Trump pass, it was very serious. And while there was a negotiating phase, the whole night meeting was carried on, and they are yet to get the specific solution. And that time they rang Trump at least 12 times. That means the flexibility which was given to the Vice President and the son-in-law, that was not enough for them to take the decisions by the latitude which was imposed or given to them.
Correct.
So even the Trump, impromptu, they could not answer. Ultimately, the things, well, in a nutshell, the Iranian says from the Iranian side, the things or the charters or the points, those who are expecting from the USA, it is more or less impossible. And they have told this deliberately. So these things become the complicated as we remember, and ultimately it voided. The next thing, it was a pressure on the Pakistani parts because they are the negotiator. So there was a ceasefire of the 15 days, if you can remember. It's the old stories, as we know
2
everything.
weeks, yes.
Just to give the nutshell, otherwise you cannot go to the detail.
Please.
So in the 15 days, it was expected that no ceasefire, literally no ceasefire. So one bullet should not be expected. But it was seen the very day, then one day after, there was a heavy bombardment on the Lebanon from the Israel part. They are tactically did it apparently from the things that there is a negotiation between the USA and the Iran. So third country should not be involved. So Lebanon is out of the treaty. But as we say, the benefit of doubt. They have taken the benefit of doubt, and it's a very negative way. Ultimately, the stress again revolved, and ultimately the questions of the ceasefire was in the fire again and again. Right. Then ultimately there are the frequent meeting and the diplomats, dignitaries happen in the both of the parties, but we are yet to get the solution.
Right.
One thing must be mentioned, because the Kamala Harris, as we know her, she was the vice president. So she's since the vice president is a very heavy appointment, she told categorically, this is not an issue of the United States of the America. Their soldier is not ready, or it is not their duty to give up their lives in the desert. So they are being used for the purposes of the Jews or Israel, and the trump card is the Trump himself. So what is his benefit? His benefit is, as he is accused of the Epstein file, so the draw attention from the Epstein file to the others, he bring deliberately this war.
This Epic Fury, Operation
Okay,
Epic Fury.
Let me allow 2 minutes more specifically. We used to hear frequently, despite of the heavy bombardment, or despite of the largest country of the world, no doubt USA, then Israel, they are also heavily equipped. Despite of that, why yet not to get the satisfactory war benefited? We have to go back to the topogeography from the military point of the analysis, and their intelligence structures of the military, geopolitics, literature, and many more. Well, if we go back to the history of the Iran, we can see the Greek invaded, Alexander himself invaded, but it was not that much easy for the Alexander to conquer the Iran, and he himself had to invade it, and ultimately he could not keep the victory for the long period.
Right.
Number 2, the Mughals, as we know, the Genghis Khan is the brutal, most brutal persons in the throughout the world. It took 28 years for the Mongols to conquer the Iran, but for the other countries they took couple of the days or like that. Number 3, Arabs. That time the Arabs is a giant.
Right.
Arabs, they cannot conquer, and ultimately if they conquer, they have tried their literature, the languages, especially where the Arabs went, they changed their language by the name of the religion or their administrative support, whatever the things may be, but they have changed their language. It was not possible, but they changed the alphabet in the Arabic. As Pakistani had tried in the Urdu's period, they have tried to change our alphabets in Urdu, but the language should be Bangla. I want to tell that despite of all the endeavors, they failed. And what happened? Shahnama, as we know, is a epic and written by, as we know, the poet, and we studied in the childhood. Still, it is the study material of the Iran. Why I am focusing so? Their intellectual ability, their literature, their language is so deep-rooted, they made their pro-patriotic. So they are firm to their country. That is why, though the USA attacks, but they are the combat force is ethically they are the spirited.
Right. Very important updates coming from you, Dr. Khosrow Sabad, not only regarding the current situation of the war, as well as historical references towards Iran, and how history also is living proof that they are the type of not to be conquered. And you also mentioned the Shahnama, which is one of the most celebrated works of Persian literature. It provides a history of Iranian kingship from the creation of the world to the conquest of Iran by Arab Muslims in the mid-7th century. So very thank you to you as well for bringing it up. I have a question which I was picking out and creating while Dr. Sabad was answering, and I have to ask Norman Floyd this question. I want to draw a contrast. Almost a month and a half way back in February, we saw how the Latin America, the Western Hemisphere discussion was so very rampant, and we also saw how Greenland and how the United States administration had reacted to trying to get this island. However, now the situation has turned to the Middle East, and of course CENTCOM is involved in most of these issues that are happening militarily with Iran. The US has turned back 27 vessels since the start of the naval blockade. This is of course coming from CENTCOM. I want to ask Norman, the intentions really matter here. What is the administration's intentions? What do they trying to achieve by such a deployment across the globe? Norman.
That's a very difficult question and a very sensitive response. I have no way of knowing exactly what the administration goal, objectives is, but through outward appearances, it appears that the United States has the administration has I guess, a mission, a plan to create a lot of confusion around the world, to divert, to use smoke and mirrors, to create situations to divert away from certain situations that we have here in the United States. One is the Epstein files, the release of the files, the issue with we have a election coming up. And right now, I can tell you that it appears that both the House and the Senate is going to lose their majority based on the current situations, the attitudes, the actions, inactions of the current administration. So, what does that mean? Between now and that period of time, it appears that there will be military actions. Economic actions, things that will allow the government to engage in global events to take their mind off and keep a mind and a focus and the budget off of what's happening internally in the United States. So as long as these things going on, similar situation I suspect is going on with Israel, to keep in a global conflict, keep fighting, to take their minds and focus off of internal issues they have with their leadership. So right now we're seeing a lot of stuff. We already talking about the next door. The next door is going to be Cuba after this situation stabilizes. But as we notice, the pattern is there's no solutions. There's always confusion. There's no solutions to anything. We start up a lot of stuff and we never finish it, end it, or bring it to an end. The only thing I see basically these events, they're all linked together, possibly a strategy to create a global conflict that we have to basically be fighting at 5-6 different fronts at the same time, and we can't focus on what we need to do in our own backyard. So that's my analysis.
Right, very important statement right there from Norman, how to focus on your own backyard. Of course, he was referring to trying to improve the American issues, American economy, and making the livelihoods of Americans better day by day. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to take a short commercial break. However, afterwards, we will see how Europe is now reacting to Israel and how they are trying to suspend multiple treaties, economic treaties with the nation. Do stay tuned. Hello and welcome to International Affairs, and my name is Shamsul Alam Panto.
I don't see an easy resolution to this because every slight deviation from the plan,
opening an open war conflict with them,
testing nuclear missiles,
Russia's announcement of these supposedly successful testing,
special and exclusive footage that is being played on SATV's screen,
Really coming to terms with Hamas.
Damage estimated between this entire issue.
President Trump is expected to hold bilateral talks.
preserving biodiversity and tackling climate change.
We cannot protect the planet before we negotiate peace.
Where is it going? Is it understanding the needs of its people before the needs of this global world?
For China to come to agreement,
They will face better projects.
With President Xi of China and President Lee of South Korea.
Trump's White House that is in favor of these things.
simply not enough action being taken to address the problem of fossil fuels.
What their plan initially is towards the Caribbean, a place that has been met with two types of disasters.
Bangladeshi students at the same level of opportunity internationally and domestically.
International Affairs. Watch every Sunday to Thursday at 2 p.m. only on SATV and SATV Digital. Hello and welcome to International Affairs, and my name is Shamsul Alam Panto.
I don't see an easy resolution to this because every slight deviation from the plan.
Opening an open war conflict with them.
Testing nuclear missiles.
Russia's announcement of these supposedly successful testing.
Special and exclusive footage that is being played on SATV screen.
Really coming to terms with Hamas.
Damage estimated between this entire issue.
President Trump is expected to hold bilateral talks.
Preserving biodiversity and tackling climate change.
Welcoming all our viewers to International Affairs. Today I am joined in the studio with Major Dr. Khosrow Samad. Alongside I have Norman Floyd Barnes from District of Columbia, Washington. I want to ask Norman once more. There is an issue that spans from Israel's acts in southern Lebanon. Earlier on, it was an act in Gaza, a genocide that had taken multiple lives, thousands in the thousands. And right now, Gaza is in rubble. But then we see a similar pattern in southern Lebanon, and then one may question the intention of Israel for its Greater Israel plan, which Benjamin Netanyahu had upholded placards at the last UN General Assembly, UNGA 80. Now, the EU agreement is now coming under strain. The news suggests that Spain, alongside Ireland, is now formally pushing for a suspension of the EU-Israel Association Agreement. This is coming because of the rights violations in Gaza and southern Lebanon as the war is proceeding on. I want to ask Norman, move away from the EU and Israel, the straining of ties. We've seen as a pattern for the last several months, but now it is taking some shape as leaders across the globe are now voicing out that human rights violations are happening on a daily basis. Multiple journalists have also taken their lives as a result of this aggression. I want to ask you, Norman, how do you see the world moving away from Israel as it is, or as I believe, the great evil?
Thank you for your comment. The issue with Israel is that Israel has always been this special case. This special case has been protected, coveted, and supported by the United States. So with that said, because of the relationship with the United States, most countries that you're now seeing to now turn away from Israel is now coming out and say, well, we really didn't like you in the beginning at all. We only dealt with you because you was with the United States. So now we're seeing that your actions, that we know that you have been very treacherous in dealing with human rights issues, dealing with how you deal with the world. Your performance, past performance, present performance is an indicator of exactly how you're going to perform tomorrow. So right now, the world is starting, particularly as the United States is now weaning away as being the big brother protector of the whole planet. Countries are now deciding that they have to look out for their own best interests, their own security, and their own peace of mind. So that cover that the United States provided for Israel is now fading away, and people are now basically coming to reality that, hey, my first thought is nothing has changed. It's just now the United States is basically telling us that Israel is basically doing their own thing. Even though this is a conflict, they're doing their own thing. There's no such thing as a ceasefire with Iran. Is not associated with their Israel is doing their own thing, which they've been doing for many, many decades. And now people say, hey, I had enough. We just can't continue to deal with these people. So now they're hitting the economic possibility. They're going to take social disconnection, economic, business, any type of association with Israel to basically put them in an isolation pole, because that's appear to be the only thing economically. Isolate them from the rest of the world and tell them, hey, we're not going to do business with you. So by not doing business with you, you're on your own, and good luck working with the United States. So right now, I see the situation of more a period of isolation, and people going to come out and reveal what they really feel about the situation in the Middle East and how it relates to them and their association with the state of Israel.
Right. Important remarks from Norman Floyd Barnes regarding Israel, regarding their multiple violations from around the world. And coming back to the studio very briefly with Dr. Khosrow Samad, you were hearing Norman regarding Israel, the move away from EU, support in terms of economic support, doing trade, commerce, business. Of course, this year really does not feel like a year where every country would be prosperous because of economic decisions. However, it is the year of strain, where all resources are strained. You would also second question whether you want to take some decisions. Everything is involved with moving around, with trying to get one place to another. How do you see this, the Israeli aggression?
Well, Israel, if we go back with the under the shadow of the America, what happened? Old things. Let me focus once more. There is a Arab Springs. So Libya, Syria, Saddam Hussein, Iraq, and occasionally part of the Saudi Arabs. It is said that their governments, like Saud family, is not the real heritage of the Muslim Ummah. So I want to say that there is a very specific plan to destroy the Muslim countries, or circumstantially 1, 2, 3, 4. The only one country, that is the Iran, they stood against the American invasion and the Israeli invasions against the Gaza or the Lebanon. So this is their fault. And there is a whole story of the Aesop. There is a conversation between the tiger and the sheep. Why are you drinking water? You are contaminated. He said, you are the above, I am in the below. How should I contaminate the water which is above my head? Oh, you are arguing. He says, I am very tiny to argue with that. So giving the very filthy logics, the Iran was attacked by the two countries. Now, the deadline is that tomorrow's potential conference between the two parties specifically. So already Islamabad is prepared. And I really thank to the Islamabad for their endeavors. But more or less they become the sandwich, because it is their achievement obviously to bring the two opposite parties in a same table. And as I said, it is one previous meeting happened for the couple of the hours. So we are expecting, but there are the two incidents which has happened. It hurt the Iran's insecurity. What happened? As we know, the naval blockade given by the USA, and there is a cargo ship which named as the Tuska, and it was seized. And as we saw in the movie, there is a Pirates of the Caribbean. Then the
Pirates of the Middle East.
Pirates, they become the Pirates of the Middle East. The language is uttered, it is not my language. And we can see the movies earlier, the Vasco da Gama, he was a pirate basically. And by the name of the piracy, he came to the India, ultimately he discovered. Then I can say, Christopher Columbus, he was trying to discover the India for the trade, ultimately the piracy, but incidentally he went to the America and he conquered that. So this piracy, uttering, it is their emotion, sentiment, because ceasefire was there. So one irritating incident is enough to go to the total procedures in the vein. So on the parts of the USA, they did not cut a sorry figure. Naturally, it is in the questions that during the ceasefire, if they fired up or do something which is against to the ceasefire, after the ceasefire, what will be the happened? So it is insecurity, mistrust, misbelief, uncertainty is prevailing of both of the parties.
Of course, very eloquently deliberated by Khosrow Samad regarding the positions. I want to ask Norman Floyd Barnes regarding a different topic. However, it is once again involving the United States of America. Of course, I can include the island nation of Cuba. Cuba is confirming talks that it has talks with U.S. officials and wants to end the Trump's energy blockade, as said by the foreign ministry official in Cuba. And of course, it was held with respectful and professional, devoid of the threats that was being made. I want to also provide a background. Cuba has been facing an energy crisis way before this war in the Middle East. So, and in the middle, a Russian tanker did stop in Cuba to provide the very crude oil that is they need to run their nation. Just a very small comment, an ending statement from Norman. It was Venezuela, then it was suspected to be Greenland. Today it is Iran. Maybe next it could be Cuba. I want to know whether you would agree with what I just said, Norman.
Yes, yes, and yes. The situation is if we seeing a pattern starting to develop on all these global events, and you have to take a moment and sit back and say, okay, why do we get up to a point where we agree that we're going to do something, and then there's an incident that disrails that basically say, hey, we have now an attack on a ship, or we have this situation in Venezuela. We got a problem with the president there. There's drugs. There's skip boats. There's different things, and then all of a sudden there's a change, and the change is basically the plan. The plan has always been the same. There's been deliberations. There'll be conversations. There will be discussions, but there will always be a issue that comes up that sabotages it. So I want to give you a good example. The two ships, the two tankers that was attacked by the military.
Right.
They come to terms to find out that these two tankers paid for safe passage through the area, thinking that they can go through with cryptocurrency. And the cryptocurrency was basically charged to them, not by Iran, through some third party. They say they represent Iran, but not Iran. And you pay me this cryptocurrency, you can go through. Well, you see the results of that. Basically, they thought they was doing something good, and it turned out to be something bad. And that bad turned out to be a sticking item for the ceasefire and the conversation about moving forward. So you have to really look at the situation. Are these situations by design, or we just that lucky and unlucky? So I look at this thing as a bit of the thing. There's a cause, there's an action, there's a solution. But nobody has that kind of luck. I say like that, these things will pop up at this time. I believe these things are designed, part of the plan, and they orchestrated to a precision moment to basically to say, hey, we're doing something, we attempt to do something, but tomorrow, okay, we got the ceasefire going, it's going to end tomorrow. We're talking to you today, but the ceasefire still goes on, and the talks they're separate things. Israel said, okay, we understand, we did the terms, but we're still going to continue with our bombardment or whatever. And what you're talking about, dealing with the situation in Iran, has nothing in their mind to do with what we're doing in southern Lebanon. So look at the pattern. The pattern will tell a story, and the story is that the intention is to have aggression, to find an excuse that, hey, we made an attempt, but we're going to do what our plan. The plan is still going on, and our plan is basically to overcome and take over these regions and have a destruction thing like we're doing in Gaza. That has not been resolved yet. We got too many loose ends. And what I anticipate is that we can continue to have too many loose ends until this administration has decided they want to do something, or they'll replace.
Right. Important and very distinctive statements coming from Norman Floyd regarding the pattern, regarding the coming days, and how we will try to value what's most important to us, whether it could be fuel, it could be the oneness with family. Of course, everyone is praying that our world takes a different course of action and not blow out with a full-scale war. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to take a short commercial break. Afterwards, we analyze the situation here in Bangladesh as well. Do stay tuned.
Not protect the planet before we negotiate peace.
Where is it going? Is it understanding the needs of its people before the needs of this global world?
For China to come to agreement,
They will face better projects.
with President Xi of China and President Lee of South Korea.
Trump's White House that is in favor of these things.
Simply not enough action being taken to address the problem of fossil fuels.
What their plan initially is towards the Caribbean, a place that has been met with two types of disasters.
Bangladeshi students at the same level of opportunity internationally and domestically.
International Affairs. Watch every Sunday to Thursday at 2 p.m. only on SATV and SATV Digital. Hello and welcome to International Affairs, and my name is Shamsul Alam Pantha.
I don't see an easy resolution to this because every slight deviation from the plan
Opening an open war conflict with them.
Testing nuclear missiles.
Russia's announcement of these supposedly successful testing.
Special and exclusive footage that is being played on SATV's screen.
really coming to terms with Hamas.
Damage estimated between this entire issue.
President Trump is expected to hold bilateral talks.
Preserving biodiversity and tackling climate change.
We cannot protect the planet before we negotiate peace.
Where is it going? Is it understanding the needs of its people before the needs of this global world?
For China to come to agreement,
They will face better projects.
with President Xi of China and President Lee of South Korea.
Trump's White House that is in favor of these things.
simply not enough action being taken to address the problem of fossil fuels.
Well, coming back to the last segment of International Affairs, we were talking with Norman Floyd Barnes regarding various world issues, thanking him for his contribution. But coming back to the studio with Dr. Khosrow Samad, an important event happened in America. I want to get a remark from you. A Louisiana man killed 8 children, 7 of his own. His family said warning signs preceded the tragedy. I want to just get a comment on a medical perspective. How would you value this disaster that this man has caused in the States?
Thank you very much. What is happening? It happened previously at least 100 more times. It is being said the president of the USA have to take breakfast with the assassinators. That means it was a very frequent phenomenon. Well, what is really happening, as you said, from the doctor's point of view, everybody's life, especially the Americans' life, very insecure, jobless, unemployment, mistrust in the family, failed to be a father, failed to pay the bill of this school, and many things. Rent is very high, and after the effect of the fuel, I suppose that all the things should be more increased. So this insecurity that creates tremendous psychological pressure. So the perception of the judgment, what to do, what not to do, it should be decreased. And the tendency of the suicidal tendency, it increased from the last decades. So the tendency of the suicide is the last event. He himself is killing. And you understand, to killing the children, what is the benefit? Apparently, what is the benefit? Now, suicide varies from the man to man, the logic. One suicide may be the brevity, why and how. In the Japans, after the defeat by the Second World War, they become the Japanese soldiers. They used a very sharp weapon, sword. They penetrate the weapon in their abdomen and killed themselves. It's a harikiri, because they could not protect their country against their invaders. So this is absolutely different things. Here he lost his judgment, what he's doing. So we are yet to know that it needs thorough investigation what is really being happened. But one thing, from my personal point of view, it was very non-professional or immature approach to kill the victim. It is not impossible to follow him, track him and arrest him, as I understand. So if we could be able to arrest him, the psychological stress or any other sabotage is behind the screen or not, that should be evaluated more precisely.
Of course.
Now, in the perspective of the Bangladesh and Dhaka,
Yes,
what happened in
there
a couple
are
of the
so
days?
many things that I want to discuss.
Exactly.
Thank you for providing the insight into Shamar Elkins is the person who killed his family members. But coming back to the situation here in Dhaka, 52, 53 days going in, we see the nation has increased the price of all of this oil, petrol, gas, octane, diesel as well as kerosene, surface oil, jet fuel. All of this combined, people are trying to get back to a sense of normalcy. How would you see this? I just want to get your views for the current administration here.
Thank you very much. Why I to focus these things about the Louisiana, in the Bangladesh, we may see frequently that he himself killed his own child and they committed suicide. We can see in the same focus. And as you say, the insecurity of the fuel may lead to the psychological stress, because
of course
it implicates especially the motorcycle buyers, the ride holders and others. Their livelihood is there. They spoiled 12 hours of their working periods
just to get 5 liters of
exactly, and the rationing of the fuel is given. It is not good enough to maintain his livelihood if the percentage of the motorcycle owners or the ride owners and his family. It is very hard job, and we are yet to know what is the organized proposal of the authority and the exact picture. What I want to tell, initially it was told by the authority that we don't have any problem with the fuel.
Right.
Listen, gentlemen, it's a global kind of problem.
Of
it
course,
is not
you will
made
have
by
some
ours.
kind of reaction.
We have some implement or impact that is obvious. So there is nothing hide and seek. It is not Bangladeshi made. It's a global problem. So if it is said that if something goes wrong in the city, the holy place is also affected. So Bangladesh may be affected. But the exact which quantity of the fuel, including kerosene, diesel, octane, jet fuel, as you said, it is a must to know as a citizen. We are paying for that. Not only that, we have to calculate that I have to fuel in that much. So there is a panic sale, panic purchase.
Right.
And this panic due to the insecurity of the sources of the information. But the information, if it is very specific, very transparent, that we have this much of the reserve. If you don't have the reserve, we don't mind, because none catered. It was suddenly they have attacked. So no of the countries throughout the world, exclusively one or two, they have stored more and more fuel. So if we don't have that much cater, what is happening? I don't blame Bangladeshi. But we should be transparent. Whatever the resource, it should be clear from the top to the bottom.
Right. Very importantly said by Dr. Khosrow Samad for being transparent. I just have a very last question regarding another situation, just very small. The measles issue that is going on, just very briefly, how do you think, or how long do you think this epidemic can come down to a close?
Okay, thank you. Very good questions. It requires a large discussions due to the scarcity of the time. Let us be very specific one.
Sure.
We have already come to know that more than 200 children has already died, and it is the tip of the iceberg. Many unidentified things happen which is not registered. They might died in their home, may not brought to the tertiary hospital where it has been registered.
Correct.
So we are really panicked. What is the real conditions? So what it was happened in the previous session, I want to focus. I tried as a doctors. There was a huge communication gap. Rather, I say it's a killing, deliberate killing. Why the deliberate killing? Why should not anticipated that we did not give the vaccine? We are supposed to give the vaccine. If we do not give the vaccine, government should. It was not given the vaccine, but it was. So there is a scarcity of the vaccine. So it was not given properly by the expanded program on the immunization. It should be noticed. So it should be told earlier, but it was not vaccinated. So it is there after effect. We are facing so. Number two, okay, we did not give. So we need the treatment, but we see that there is a scarcity of the specific isolation wards. Because
right.
if I keep to the other wards, so it will be infected the others. So it should be controllable and curable. Despite of the controllable, curable, the death cannot be expected.
Right.
Now what is happening? Now it is told in the headlines, kit is not there. It is a issue of the couple of the dollar.
Right.
So if we do not the kit happen, we can remember the previous many diseases like the many disorders, very specific. If we do not case, a suspected case sent from the doctors the samples of the victim, so it is a question of the diagnosis. Diagnosis, if it is diagnosed properly, treatment should be very specifically. If it is not diagnosed, doctor should be the dilemma, because all the classical features may not be manifested by the patient. So this insecurity may lead to the very vulnerable situation. So there is a worsening of the situation may come. So my message from this program, this is the questions of the children. Already we could not accept the death of the children. So for the filthy reasons, we don't have the kit. How you should procure the kit? Don't ask the questions. You should procure, you should present, it should be given. There is no compromise with the theory, there is no questions of the diplomacy, there is no question of the money.
Right.
We should bring the kit, we should diagnose, and we should say these children saves their life.
Of course, very importantly said by Dr. Khusru Samad. I thank you for your contribution, your time, and your valuable insights regarding international and national issues here on International Affairs. It's good to see you as well. Alongside, I want to thank Norman Floyd Barnes for joining from Washington, District of Columbia, for his valuable insights as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to finish on a very light note. Today is April the 21st. It is also known by the United Nations as World Creativity and Innovation Day. It is designed to encourage new ideas and problem solving for achieving sustainable development goals. Ladies and gentlemen, I shall see you all on tomorrow's program.